Most K-pop leaders manage schedules and rehearsals. Bangchan builds people. Since debuting Stray Kids in 2018, JYP Entertainment has quietly documented something unusual about this group, and it starts at the top. Bangchan didn't just audition, train, and debut, he hand-selected members, fought to keep them together, and built a team culture that even JYP's own executives have publicly remarked on. But here's the part most fans miss. The real story isn't what happens on stage. It's the conversations at 3 a.m. in the studio, the arguments that could have fractured the group, the quiet moments where one member's doubt was caught and corrected by a leader who was paying attention when nobody else was. JYP has, across interviews, behind-the-scenes content, and internal reflections, spotlighted 7 specific dynamics between Bangchan and each Stray Kids member, moments that reveal how this group actually functions when the cameras aren't rolling. Some of these will make you rethink what leadership in K-pop even looks like.
Number 7. Bangchan and Felix, a friendship that never wavered. To understand why this bond matters, you need to go back to 2017, to a fluorescent-lit practice room inside JYP Entertainment's headquarters in Seoul, South Korea, where a 16-year-old kid from Sydney, Australia, was quietly falling apart. Felix Lee, born Lee Young-bok, had arrived in South Korea with raw talent, a voice that could drop to subterranean depths, and a dream he'd been chasing since he first watched K-pop videos in his bedroom in Sydney's western suburbs. What he didn't have was fluency in Korean, and in the ruthless ecosystem of K-pop training, where trainees are evaluated weekly on vocals, dance, rap, and even personality, that gap wasn't just inconvenient, it was a genuine threat to his entire career. This is where Bangchan enters the story, and not as some distant senior offering polite encouragement. Bangchan, also from Sydney, had been inside the JYP training system since 2010, 7 years. He'd watched dozens of trainees come and go, seen careers end before they started, and understood better than almost anyone in that building what it felt like to be a Korean-Australian kid trying to prove yourself in a system that wasn't designed for people like you. When Felix showed up, Bangchan didn't just see a fellow trainee, he saw himself, a younger version, standing at the exact crossroads he once stood at. JYP's survival show, Stray Kids, which aired on Mnet starting in October 2017, was designed to finalize the group's lineup. It wasn't a casual audition process, it was televised elimination. Every week, trainees performed under pressure, and the ones who didn't meet the standard were sent home. The format was intentionally stressful. JYP himself sat as the primary evaluator, making real-time decisions about who stayed and who left. Felix struggled. His Korean was limited enough that he sometimes couldn't fully understand the instructions being given during group missions. He'd grasp the choreography, nail the physical work, but when it came to delivering rap verses in Korean with natural rhythm and pronunciation, the gap showed. And the cameras caught everything. The hesitation, the frustration, the long nights spent memorizing syllables in a language that still felt foreign in his mouth. During this period, Bangchan functioned more than a friend. He became Felix's translator, literally. In group meetings, Bangchan would quietly lean over and repeat key points in English so Felix could follow along. During practice sessions, he'd stay after hours to help Felix work through Korean lyrics line by line. This wasn't assigned by management. No producer told Bangchan to do this. He simply recognized that someone in his team needed help and decided that leaving that person to struggle alone wasn't an option. Then came the moment that nearly broke them both. In episode 7 of the survival show, Felix was eliminated. JYP's evaluation was direct. Felix's skills hadn't developed enough relative to the other trainees, and his Korean proficiency was a barrier to the group performances. The decision was made, and Felix was told to leave. The footage of that moment became one of the most watched clips in the show's history, not because of Felix's reaction, but because of Bangchan's. The leader, who had spent weeks holding the team together, who had been the emotional anchor for every member going through the pressure cooker of evaluation, broke down completely. He cried in a way that surprised even the production staff. It wasn't performative, it wasn't for the cameras, it was the genuine response of someone watching a person they cared about being pulled away from the thing they wanted most. What happened next is critical context. Bangchan didn't just feel sad and move on. According to what has been shared through JYP-related content and the members' own recollections over the years, Bangchan actively advocated for Felix's return. He made his position known, not through dramatic confrontation, but through consistent, clear communication with the people making decisions. He believed Felix had the potential to be essential to Stray Kids, and he said so. Felix was eventually brought back before the final lineup was confirmed. When the official 8-member roster of Stray Kids was announced, Bangchan, Lee, Changbin, Hyunjin, Han, Felix, Seungmin, and I.N, Felix was standing in the lineup. The group debuted on March 25, 2018 with the EP I Am Not, and Felix was right there. But the story doesn't end with the debut. That's actually where the harder work began. JYP has highlighted across multiple behind-the-scenes features and group evaluations that Bangchan continued to play a direct role in Felix's development after debut. When Felix was preparing for performances that required extended Korean dialogue or WAP delivery, Bangchan would review the material with him privately, not in a teacher-student dynamic, more like two guys from the same neighborhood sitting down and working through a problem together. Felix has spoken about this publicly on Stray Kids' own content platforms, including their reality series and V-Lives, noting that Bangchan's willingness to help without making him feel singled out was what allowed him to improve without losing confidence. And improve he did. Felix's Korean became dramatically more fluent in the years following debut. By the time Stray Kids began their international ascent, touring stadiums, appearing on American talk shows, selling out arenas across Asia, Europe, and North America, Felix was delivering his parts with a naturalness that would have seemed impossible to anyone who watched those early survival show episodes. His deep voice became one of the group's most recognizable sonic signatures, featured prominently in tracks like God's Menu, Thunderous, and Maniac. JYP has pointed to the Bangchan-Felix dynamic as an example of what organic mentorship looks like inside a group, the kind that doesn't come from a company manual, but from genuine personal investment. What makes it particularly notable is that it never created a dependency. Bangchan didn't make Felix reliant on him. He gave Felix tools and support until Felix could stand entirely on his own. That distinction matters because in K-pop, where group hierarchies can sometimes create imbalanced dynamics, the fact that Bangchan consistently empowered Felix rather than just protecting him says something about both of them. There's also the cultural layer that's easy to overlook. Both of them grew up navigating dual identities, Korean heritage, Australian upbringing. They understood what it was like to feel slightly out of place in both worlds. That shared experience created a shorthand between them that didn't need much explanation. When Felix was homesick, he didn't need to describe the feeling to Bangchan. Bangchan already knew. When Bangchan felt the weight of leading a group in a country where he'd spent his childhood, but not his adolescence, Felix understood that tension without being told. Their bond has been visible in ways large and small throughout Stray Kids' career, from the way they switch effortlessly into English during group conversations, creating what fans have come to call the Aussie line moments, to the way Bangchan checks in on Felix during high-pressure performances, making sure the younger member is holding up before thinking about himself. JYP didn't frame this relationship as extraordinary because of any single dramatic event. It was highlighted because of its consistency. Year after year, comeback after comeback, world tour after world tour, the connection between Bangchan and Felix has remained a fixed point, steady, reliable, and quietly powerful. In an industry where relationships between members can be strained by exhaustion, competition, and the relentless demands of public life, a friendship that never wavered isn't just admirable, it's rare. And if you think that bond is strong, wait until you hear what happened between Bangchan and Hyunjin, a story that starts not with friendship, but with friction. Number 6. Bangchan and Hyunjin, resolving differences with maturity. Not every meaningful relationship starts with warmth. Some start with a clash, the kind that in a lesser group could leave permanent damage. The dynamic between Bangchan and Hyunjin didn't begin with easy compatibility. It began with two strong personalities colliding inside a system that gave them no room to avoid each other. To understand why this matters, you need to understand who Hwang Hyunjin is. Born in 2000, Hyunjin entered JYP Entertainment as a trainee with a set of qualities that immediately stood out: striking visuals, natural dance ability, and an intensity that bordered on relentless. He wasn't the type to quietly follow instructions and wait his turn. Hyunjin had opinions, artistic instincts, and a competitive fire that made him push back when something didn't sit right with him. In a normal environment, that kind of drive is an asset. In the pressure chamber of a pre-debut survival show, where every decision is being filmed, evaluated, and broadcast, it created friction. Bangchan, meanwhile, was operating under a very different kind of pressure. As the leader selected to guide the group through the survival show, he carried the weight of making decisions that affected everyone. He'd been a trainee at JYP since 2010, roughly 7 years by the time the Stray Kids show began filming in 2017. That tenure gave him deep knowledge of how the company worked, what evaluators wanted to see, and what it took to survive in an industry that discards talented people every day. But it also meant he had a specific way of doing things, a framework built over years of experience that he believed was the right path forward. When you put a leader who trusts his experience next to a member who trusts his instincts, and you add the stress of televised elimination, disagreements aren't just possible, they're inevitable. During the survival show missions, the cracks showed. Group performances required unified direction. Everyone needed to agree on formations, energy levels, creative choices, and how to allocate parts. Bangchan, as leader, often made final calls on these decisions. Hyunjin didn't always agree. And unlike members who might swallow their objections to keep the peace, Hyunjin voiced his. He wasn't disrespectful about it. This wasn't hostility. It was genuine creative disagreement between two people who both cared deeply about the outcome, but had different ideas about how to get there. JYP noted this kind of communication as a marker of maturity, particularly given how young both of them were at the time. Bangchan was barely 20. Hyunjin was 17. Most people at that age, placed under that kind of professional and emotional stress, default to one of two modes. Either they shut down and comply, or they dig in and escalate. What Bangchan and Hyunjin did was neither. They found a middle space, one where disagreement didn't mean disrespect and leadership didn't mean unquestioned authority. That foundation proved critical in the years that followed, especially during one of the most difficult periods in Stray Kids' career. In February 2021, Hyunjin was accused of bullying during his school years. The allegations surfaced online and spread rapidly across Korean social media. JYP Entertainment initially released a statement, and Hyunjin himself wrote a personal apology, acknowledging that his past behavior had caused pain to others. The company announced that Hyunjin would go on a temporary hiatus from group activities while the situation was addressed. He stepped away from public life for approximately 5 months, from February to July 2021.
During that period, Stray Kids continued with scheduled activities as a 7-member group. The absence was felt in every performance, every broadcast appearance, every piece of content. And the members, publicly at least, handled it with a discipline that drew notice from industry observers. Bangchan's response during this period was particularly notable. Through his regular live broadcast series, known to fans as Chan's Room, conducted on the group's official communication platforms, Bangchan addressed the situation without sensationalizing it. He didn't make dramatic declarations. He didn't ignore it either. He acknowledged that the group was going through a difficult time, expressed his care for all members, and communicated to fans, known as Stay, that the team was intact. His tone was measured, sincere, and deliberate. He said enough to reassure without saying so much that he created additional noise around an already volatile situation. What happened behind the scenes during those 5 months isn't fully public, and it would be irresponsible to speculate about private conversations. But what is documented is what happened after Hyunjin returned. When he rejoined the group's activities in July 2021, the reintegration was seamless, not because the situation was forgotten, but because the group had clearly maintained their connection throughout the hiatus. The dynamic between Hyunjin and the rest of the members, including Bangchan, showed no visible fracture. If anything, observers and fans noted that the bond appeared stronger. JYP has pointed to this entire arc, from the early creative disagreements during the survival show to the way the group navigated the 2021 controversy, as evidence that Bangchan's leadership style and Hyunjin's willingness to grow created a relationship built on genuine respect, rather than hierarchy alone. There's a detail here that's easy to miss, but important to note. In many K-pop groups, the leader's role is largely administrative, coordinating schedules, speaking on behalf of the group in formal settings, making sure things run on time. Bangchan's leadership has consistently gone beyond that. With Hyunjin specifically, it meant creating space for a member with a strong personality to express himself without feeling suppressed, while also maintaining the cohesion necessary for an 8-member group to function under extreme public scrutiny. Hyunjin, for his part, has spoken in various interviews and group content about how his relationship with Bangchan evolved. He's described a shift from viewing Bangchan primarily as an authority figure to seeing him as someone he genuinely trusts, not because Bangchan demanded trust, but because he earned it through consistent action over years. That evolution didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't the result of a single heart-to-heart conversation. It was built through hundreds of small interactions, studio sessions, rehearsals, post-performance debriefs, late nights on tour, and moments of real vulnerability that the public rarely sees. The result is a dynamic that JYP has described as one of the most mature within the group. 2 members who started with natural friction learned to channel that friction into something productive. Their creative disagreements didn't disappear. They still have different instincts, different ways of approaching performance and artistry, but the way they navigate those differences now reflect years of practice in the most important skill any team can develop: the ability to disagree without disconnecting. In an industry where internal conflicts have publicly destroyed groups, where members have left, filed lawsuits, and aired grievances that ended careers, the fact that Bangchan and Hyunjin turned early tension into lasting trust isn't just a nice story. It's a case study in how conflict, handled correctly, can become the strongest thread holding a team together. But if Bangchan and Hyunjin's story is about learning to communicate through differences, the next one is about what happens when 2 people share the exact same obsession and what it costs them to chase it together.
Number 5. Bangchan and Changbin, the hard work behind the music. There's a room inside JYP Entertainment's building in Seoul that most fans will never see. It's not glamorous. There's no dramatic lighting, no stylized decor. It's a production studio, compact, functional, lined with monitors, MIDI controllers, and the kind of equipment that only matters to people who spend their lives turning sounds into songs. And if you walked past that room on any given night between 2017 and now, there's a reasonable chance you'd find two people inside, still working, long after everyone else in the building had gone home. Bangchan and Changbin, the engine behind the music that made Stray Kids one of the most commercially dominant groups in fourth-generation K-pop. To appreciate what these two built together, you need to understand something about the K-pop industry that casual listeners often miss. Most idol groups don't make their own music. The standard model works like this. A company hires external producers and songwriters, those professionals create tracks, and the group performs them. It's efficient, it's controlled, and it gives the label final say over every creative decision. Some of the biggest acts in K-pop history have operated this way, and there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it does mean that the music belongs to the artist. Stray Kids broke that model, and the reason they were able to break it traces back directly to a unit called 3racha. 3racha, a name styled as a play on the chili sauce sriracha, is the producing and songwriting subunit within Stray Kids, composed of Bangchan, Changbin, and Han. The unit existed before the group officially debuted. While still trainees, the three of them began uploading original tracks to SoundCloud, building a small but dedicated following among listeners who recognized that these weren't typical idol demos. The production quality was real, the writing had substance, and the output was relentless. Track after track, uploaded with a consistency that suggested these weren't hobbyists experimenting on weekends, they were working. Within 3racha, Bangchan and Changbin developed a creative partnership that JYP has repeatedly spotlighted as one of the driving forces behind Stray Kids. Musical identity, their roles, while fluid, generally follow a pattern. Bangchan handles the bulk of composition and production, building beats, layering instrumentals, structuring arrangements, while Changbin focuses primarily on rap writing and lyrical construction. But the lines blur constantly. Changbin contributes to melodic ideas, Bangchan writes verses. The process isn't rigid, and that flexibility is part of why it works. What JYP has specifically noted about the Bangchan-Changbin dynamic isn't just the quality of what they produce, it's the volume of hours they pour into it. Bangchan's regular live streams have become something of a legend within the Stray Kids fan community, and for good reason. The man genuinely does not stop. Through his regular live streams, fans have seen Bangchan broadcasting from the studio well past midnight, headphones on, screens glowing, still adjusting a track he's been refining for hours. He's spoken openly about the fact that he often works through the night, sometimes not sleeping until the early morning because he heard something in a mix that didn't sound right and couldn't leave it alone. Changbin matches that energy. Not in the exact same way, Changbin's process is less about solitary late-night marathons and more about intense, focused bursts of creative output. He's known for being one of the fastest rappers in K-pop, and that speed extends to his writing. Changbin can generate lyrics at a pace that impresses even his own group members. But speed without quality is meaningless, and what makes Changbin's output remarkable is that the material he writes at high velocity is consistently sharp, technically complex rap verses with layered wordplay, internal rhyme schemes, and thematic coherence that rewards repeated listening. When these two sit down together in the studio, the result is a working dynamic that JYP has described as exceptionally productive. They push each other. Not in the vague, motivational poster sense of the phrase. They literally push each other's work further. Bangchan will present a beat, and Changbin will write to it, then suggest structural changes that reshape the track's direction. Changbin will bring in a verse, and Bangchan will hear a production element that could elevate it and rebuild the instrumental around the new vision. The process is iterative, sometimes exhausting, and apparently involves the kind of honest, creative disagreement that only works between people who trust each other completely. The output speaks for itself.
Stray Kids' discography, spanning multiple studio albums, EPs, and single albums, is overwhelmingly self-produced. The group holds songwriting and production credits on the vast majority of their released tracks. This is not a marketing exaggeration. You can verify it by checking the credits on any Stray Kids album through official music databases. Songs like God's Menu, released in 2020, which became a career-defining hit and established the group's signature sound, aggressive, genre-blending, unapologetically loud, carry 3 Racha production credits. Backgore, Thunderous, Maniac, S-Class, the list continues, and the credits remain consistent. Bangchan and Changbin's fingerprints are on nearly everything. JYP has acknowledged this publicly, recognizing that the self-producing model Stray Kids operate under is unusual for a group of their commercial scale. Most groups that achieve the level of success Stray Kids have reached, selling millions of albums, headlining stadium tours across multiple continents, charting on the Billboard 200, do so with teams of external producers managing the musical output. Stray Kids do it in-house. And the core of that in-house operation is 3 people, 2 of whom, Bangchan and Changbin, have been refining their collaborative process since before the group's name was even public. The cost of that process is something that doesn't get discussed enough. Working the hours Bangchan and Changbin work isn't sustainable by any conventional standard. The late nights, the endless revisions, the pressure of knowing that every track you release will be heard by millions of people and dissected by an audience that expects nothing less than excellence, that takes a toll. Both of them have acknowledged, in various moments of candor during interviews and live broadcasts, that the workload is intense. Bangchan, in particular, has been open about the physical effects of chronic sleep deprivation, mentioning in multiple streams that he knows he should rest more but finds it difficult to step away when a song isn't finished. What keeps them going, based on everything they've communicated publicly, is a shared conviction that the music has to come from them, not from an outside producer who doesn't understand the group's identity, not from a formula designed to chase whatever trend is performing well on streaming platforms. From them, from their experiences, their perspectives, their creative instincts. That conviction is what JYP has highlighted as the foundation of their partnership. It's not just work ethic, it's a belief system. And when 2 people share the same belief system about their craft, they can push through levels of exhaustion that would break a partnership built on anything less. Changbin once described his studio sessions with Bangchan as conversations that happen to produce music, the kind of exchange where ideas flow so naturally that the boundary between brainstorming and creating disappears entirely. That description aligns with what fans see in behind-the-scenes footage, 2 people who are so comfortable in each other's creative presence that silence doesn't feel awkward, disagreement doesn't feel threatening, and the shared goal of making something great overrides every other consideration. JYP didn't just notice this dynamic. The company built part of Stray Kids' brand identity around it. The self-producing label that Stray Kids carries isn't just a tagline, it's a promise to their audience that the music is authentic, and that promise is kept every comeback because Bangchan and Changbin refuse to cut corners, no matter how many hours it costs them. The studio sessions, the sleepless nights, the hundreds of tracks that were written, revised, scrapped, and rewritten before a single one made it onto an album, that's the real work behind every Stray Kids song you've ever heard. And at the center of it, every time, are 2 guys who decided years ago that good enough was never going to be good enough. But if the Bangchan and Changbin story is about equals pushing each other to greatness, the next story is about something entirely different, a leader bending down to lift up the youngest member of the group, one quiet conversation at a time.
Number 4, Bangchan I.N, a leader who always guides. In the structural hierarchy of K-pop, the role of the maknae, the youngest member of a group, carries a very specific, often intense set of expectations. While they are frequently positioned as the focus of the group's affection, they also faced the daunting challenge of keeping pace with older, more experienced peers under the constant scrutiny of the public and company management. When Stray Kids was being formed, this weight fell entirely on young Hyunjin, known by his stage name I.N. Born in Busan in 2001. I.N entered JYP Entertainment as a trainee with a relatively short preparation period compared to the group's veteran trainees. He was young, away from his family, and placed in a highly competitive environment where survival was determined by rapid skill development. Bangchan, who had spent 7 years observing the high turnover rate of trainees at the agency, understood that the youngest members of any group are often the most vulnerable to self-doubt. The gap in training hours between a senior trainee like Bangchan and a newer trainee like I.N was vast. Without deliberate intervention, this gap could easily lead to isolation or a permanent deficit in performance confidence. JYP Entertainment's internal evaluations and behind-the-scenes footage from the group's early years document how Bangchan made the conscious decision to bridge this gap, establishing a guidance system that was both highly practical and emotionally grounding. The reality of this challenge became public during the 2017 net survival show Stray Kids. During the evaluations, JYP was consistently critical of I.N's performances. The agency head pointed out that I.N's vocal stability was lacking, his dancing was noticeably behind the others, and even his facial expressions felt forced under the pressure of the stage. For a 16-year-old trainee, receiving this level of direct criticism on national television was a severe blow to his confidence. The cameras captured I.N smiling through the critiques, only to break down in tears once he returned to the practice rooms, overwhelmed by the fear that he would be the reason the group failed to debut as a complete unit. Bangchan's response to this situation went beyond standard leadership platitudes. He did not simply offer generic words of encouragement, he designed a structured support system for I.N behind the scenes. Because I.N wore dental braces at the time, his vocal articulation and pronunciation were physically compromised, a detail that made his vocal training significantly harder. Bangchan, drawing on his own extensive training in vocal production, sat down with I.N in the practice rooms for hours after official training sessions had ended. They worked on breath control, mouth placement, and navigating the physical limitations of singing with braces. This guidance was meticulously documented in the survival show's raw footage and has been referenced by both members in subsequent documentaries. Bangchan did not take over I.N's parts or attempt to change his natural vocal tone. Instead, he helped I.N identify his specific vocal range and taught him how to project his voice without straining. During group choreography sessions, Bangchan would stand behind I.N, adjusting his posture and alignment to ensure he did not look out of sync with the more experienced dancers in the lineup. JYP executives noted that this hands-on mentorship changed the dynamic of the team. In many traditional training structures, older trainees focus strictly on their own survival, knowing that only a select few will make the final cut. Bangchan rejected this individualistic approach. He made it clear to the agency that I.N was an indispensable part of the group's identity. By taking personal responsibility for I.N's development, Bangchan buffered the youngest member from the harshest elements of the trainee system, allowing him the space to make mistakes and learn from them without the immediate fear of elimination. When Stray Kids officially debuted in March 2018, the work did not stop. The transition from trainee to active idol brought a new wave of pressure, including live broadcast performances, rigorous promotional schedules, and the demand for constant content creation. During this period, the guidance Bangchan provided transitioned from basic skill building to professional navigation. I.N has frequently noted in group interviews and log videos that Bangchan was the person who helped him manage the logistics of his double life as a high school student at the School of Performing Arts Seoul, SOPA, and a member of a rapidly rising K-pop group. The leader would monitor I.N's rest schedules, ensure he was eating regularly, and assist him in managing the stress of early morning music show pre-recordings. Over the years, the results of this sustained guidance became evident in I.N's performance trajectory. By the time the group released their first full-length studio album, Go Live, in 2020, I.N's vocal delivery had matured significantly. His voice, once criticized for instability, had developed a distinct, clear quality that producers began using to anchor key melodic sections of their title tracks. The braces were gone, and with them, any lingering hesitation in his delivery. In subsequent albums like Noisy, 2021, and 5 Star, 2023, I.N was no longer just the member who needed extra help, he was holding down major chorus hooks and complex vocal runs, demonstrating a level of performance authority that mirrored his older group members. JYP himself commented on this visible evolution during the group's later promotions, acknowledging that I.N's growth was one of the most significant developments within the group. This change was not accidental, it was the direct outcome of a long-term investment by a leader who prioritized the development of his team members over his own individual spotlight. The guidance Bangchan provided was not based on establishing authority or demanding compliance. It was built on the understanding that a group is only as strong as its weakest link, and that the best way to strengthen the team is to empower its youngest member. In public broadcasts, the relationship between the two often carries a light-hearted, sibling-like energy, with I.N jokingly teasing the leader about his age or his intense work habits. But beneath the casual banter lies a documented history of mutual respect. I.N has openly stated that during his lowest points as a trainee, when he seriously considered giving up and returning to Busan, it was Bangchan's persistent belief in his potential that kept him in the practice rooms. The leader's approach to guiding the Magne established a precedent within Stray Kids, that seniority is not a license to command, but an obligation to support. This dynamic proved essential as the group expanded their global reach, requiring each member to step into leadership roles of their own during international interviews and promotions. Because he had been guided with patience, I.N was able to transition from a self-conscious teenager into a confident, self-assured artist capable of holding his own on the world's largest stages. The foundation that was laid in those quiet, late-night vocal sessions inside the JYP building remains a key reason why the group's internal structure has remained stable through years of intense professional pressure. With the youngest member successfully guided into his own strength, Bangchan was able to turn his attention to other complex relationships within the lineup, specifically those requiring a deeper level of mutual understanding and adaptation between members with highly contrasting personalities. Number 3, Bangchan and Lee No, learning to understand each other. In the structural organization of any K-pop group, the relationship between the oldest members, often referred to as the Hyung line, is critical to the group's long-term stability. If the oldest members are not aligned, the internal order of the team quickly degrades. For Stray Kids, this dynamic is anchored by Bangchan and Lee No. Born in 1997 and 1998 respectively, they are the two oldest members of the group. However, while they share the responsibility of senior leadership, their entry paths into JYP Entertainment, their training backgrounds, and their fundamental personalities could not have been more different. Learning to understand each other was not an instantaneous process of mutual liking, it was a deliberate, practical adjustment that took time, trial, and a clear division of professional responsibilities. To understand the contrast, one must look at their respective histories before the 2017 survival show. Bangchan was a foundational figure within the agency's trainee system, having spent 7 years developing his skills under the direct supervision of JYP coaches. He was deeply integrated into the company's culture, understood its expectations, and had developed a highly communicative, emotionally open leadership style. Lee No, conversely, entered the agency as a late arrival. Before joining JYP Entertainment in 2017, he had already worked as a professional dancer, even performing as a backup dancer for BTS during their Wings World Tour. He did not spend years navigating the trainee system. His training period at JYP before the survival show was one of the shortest in the group's history, lasting only a few months. His personality was also distinct, quiet, highly practical, emotionally reserved, and possessing a direct, sometimes blunt communication style that contrasted sharply with Bangchan's softer, more diplomatic approach. This difference in background created immediate professional challenges during the preparation for the survival show. Lee No possessed elite dance skills, but he was unfamiliar with the specific vocal and performance pressure of JYP's evaluation system. In the fourth episode of the show, after a mission where he forgot his lyrics due to nervousness, Lee No was eliminated. The decision shocked the group. Bangchan, who had selected Lee No for the lineup, felt a profound sense of responsibility for the elimination. The footage of their parting showed a raw, unscripted moment where Bangchan apologized to Lee No for not being able to guide him through the evaluation successfully. When Lee No was eventually brought back in the final episode to debut with the group, both he and Bangchan realized that their survival as a 9-member, now 8-member, group required a systematic approach to cooperation. They could not rely on superficial harmony, they had to build a working relationship that capitalized on their differing strengths. JYP Entertainment's behind-the-scenes content, including the Two Kids Room series, has documented how this adjustment took place. The two oldest members established a clear division of labor. Bangchan, while remaining the official group leader, delegated the physical direction of the group's performances to Lee No. As the main dancer, Lee No took charge of the group's choreography practices. In the dance studio, his authority was absolute. Bangchan, despite being the overall leader, stepped back and followed Lee No's direction during rehearsals. This division was highly efficient. It allowed Bangchan to focus his energy on music production, track arrangement, and administrative duties, while ensuring that the group's complex, high-energy choreography was polished to a professional standard under Lee No's strict supervision. Lee No's teaching style was direct and detail-oriented, a product of his background as a professional dancer. He did not coddle the members, he corrected their angles, timing, and posture with clinical precision. Bangchan's willingness to cede control of this department demonstrated a high level of trust in Lee No's professional capability. However, the adjustment also required personal understanding. Bangchan is a person who tends to absorb the stress of the entire group, often working through physical exhaustion and emotional strain without complaint. Lee No, who does not easily express his own emotions, developed a silent method of supporting the leader. Rather than engaging in long, emotional conversations, Lee No focused on practical support. He would quietly monitor Bangchan's physical state during long rehearsals, step in to lead practices when he noticed the leader was fatigued, and handle the daily organization of the members behind the scenes. In interviews, Bangchan has acknowledged that Lee No's presence as the second oldest member is what allows him to carry the burden of leadership. He has described Lee No as a reliable anchor, someone who does not need to speak constantly to make his support felt. Lee No, in turn, has noted that he learned to appreciate Bangchan's emotional investment in the group, recognizing that the leader's intense focus on the members' well-being is what keeps the team unified. This mutual understanding was critical as Stray Kids transitioned from a rookie group into a global touring act. The physical demand of headlining world tours, performing 3-hour sets, and managing international media schedules puts immense strain on a group's internal relations. The fact that the two oldest members had established a stable, functional partnership meant that the rest of the group had a consistent foundation to rely on. There was no struggle for authority within the team, the hierarchy was clear, but it was also flexible enough to allow both men to lead in their respective areas of expertise. JYP's internal producers and performance directors have often pointed to this dynamic as a key factor in Stray Kids' reputation for synchronization and stage presence. The group's performance level is not maintained by company staff alone, it is enforced from within by Lee No, with the full backing and authority of Bangchan. This internal accountability is far more effective than external pressure, as the members are answering to a peer who they know has earned his position through years of professional work. The relationship between Bangchan and Lee No is a demonstration that compatibility is not a prerequisite for successful teamwork. They did not change their fundamental personalities to get along. Bangchan remained expressive and production-focused, Lee No remained reserved and performance-driven. What they did was learn to read each other's signals, respect each other's boundaries, and divide their responsibilities in a way that maximized their efficiency as leaders. By establishing this balance, they created a template for how the rest of the members handle personal and professional differences within the group. The stability of the Hyung line allowed the younger members to develop their own dynamics without being caught in the middle of internal leadership conflicts. With the core performance and production leadership aligned, the focus of the group's internal development shifted toward building long-term trust and consistency across the entire lineup, particularly with members whose contributions were defined by quiet, steady dedication over time. Number 2, Bangchan and Seungmin, trust built over time. In a group whose musical identity is heavily defined by aggressive hip-hop, intense electronic beats, and rapid-fire rap sequences, the role of a clean, stable vocalist is often the element that keeps a track from descending into sonic chaos. For Stray Kids, that stabilizing force is Kim Seungmin. Born in 2000, Seungmin entered JYP Entertainment in 2017 after securing second place in the agency's highly competitive 13th Open audition. Unlike many of his peers who spent years inside the trainee system, Seungmin's training period before the group's survival show was relatively brief, less than a year. Yet, from his earliest evaluations, he demonstrated a specific trait that caught the attention of both the agency's casting directors and the group's leader, Bangchan, an uncompromising, methodical approach to his craft. The relationship between Bangchan and Seungmin did not develop through dramatic, televised breakthroughs. Instead, it was built systematically, brick by brick, in the quietest corners of the JYP training facility. While Bangchan operated as the creative visionary of the group, managing production, writing beats, and organizing the team's overall direction, Seungmin functioned as the disciplined technician. From the beginning, Seungmin was known for his rigorous self-maintenance. He kept detailed vocal diaries, took meticulous notes during lessons, and established a daily practice routine that he refused to deviate from, even during the group's busiest promotional periods. This dedication was precisely what Bangchan needed in a lead vocalist. When producing tracks for Stray Kids under the Three Racha moniker, Bangchan had to balance his own creative ambitions with the practical limitations of what a group could perform live on stage. In K-pop, the demand for high-energy dance routines often leads groups to rely heavily on backing tracks during live broadcasts. Stray Kids, however, built their reputation on delivering raw, live vocals while executing intense physical choreography. To pull this off, the leader needed to know that the person carrying the melodic core of the songs was completely reliable. The recording studio became the primary arena where the trust between Bangchan and Seungmin was tested and solidified. When directing Seungmin in the recording booth, Bangchan's approach shifted from that of a protective leader to that of a professional producer. He did not need to micromanage Seungmin's vocal preparation. The notes were already memorized, the breathing points were already marked, and the emotional delivery was already planned. Seungmin trusted Bangchan's creative direction implicitly, taking feedback and adjusting his tone, pitch, or pronunciation immediately without defensiveness. This professional synergy became particularly apparent during the group's participation in Net's Kingdom, Legendary War in 2021. The show was a high-stakes competition between active, established boy groups, with performances evaluated by industry experts and global fans. During the vocal unit mission, Seungmin was selected to represent Stray Kids, performing a cover of IU's Love Poem alongside members from other competing groups. The performance required immense vocal control, emotional nuance, and stage presence. Throughout the preparation process, Bangchan's support was constant but focused. He did not interfere with the vocal arrangements, trusting Seungmin's technical judgment, but he acted as a sounding board, reviewing the audio mixes and offering strategic feedback on how to project the performance to the audience. The resulting stage was widely praised by critics for its vocal clarity, establishing Seungmin as one of the premier vocalists of his generation and validating the trust his leader had placed in him on a national stage. JYP Entertainment's internal documentaries have frequently highlighted how Seungmin's reliability has expanded Bangchan's creative parameters as a composer. Because he knows Seungmin can consistently execute complex vocal lines live, Bangchan is free to write more adventurous melodic structures. He is not restricted to simple, safe vocal ranges. Tracks like Levanter, Blueprint, and the vocal-heavy sections of S-Class demonstrate how Seungmin's vocal stability allows the group to transition seamlessly from aggressive, rap-heavy verses to sweeping, emotional choruses. Beyond the technical aspects of performance, the trust between the two also carries a significant emotional weight. The workload of leading a self-producing group like Stray Kids is notoriously heavy, and Bangchan is frequently subject to physical and mental fatigue. In Seungmin, Bangchan found a member who provided a quiet, unwavering stability. Seungmin is not prone to emotional volatility. He approaches his duties with a calm, professional demeanor that serves as an anchor for the team when schedules become chaotic or stressful. This stability has been noted by the members themselves during their annual anniversary broadcasts and intro documentary series, where they discuss their internal dynamics. Bangchan has repeatedly stated that Seungmin is one of the members he worries about the least, not because he cares less, but because Seungmin's self-discipline is so absolute. This level of autonomy is a rare commodity in a group leader's life, knowing that a key member is managing his own development and duties without needing constant oversight frees up critical mental space for Bangchan to focus on the broader health of the group. In return, Seungmin has expressed deep appreciation for the creative freedom and validation Bangchan provides. In an industry where vocalists are often told exactly how to sing by external producers who may not know their voices well, Seungmin's vocal development has been guided by a peer who has watched him grow since his first day at the company. This personal connection means that Bangchan knows exactly how to write parts that highlight Seungmin's strengths while gently pushing him to expand his vocal range and try new genres, such as rock-infused vocal styles or OST ballads. The partnership between the leader and his main vocalist is a clear demonstration of how professional respect can mature into deep personal trust. They do not need to constantly publicize their bond. It is evident in the way they work together in the studio, the way they cue each other on stage during live shows, and the way they share the responsibility of maintaining the group's performance standards. This steady, disciplined alliance has remained a quiet cornerstone of Stray Kids' operational structure, ensuring that as their music grew bolder and their stages grew larger, the core of their live performance remained completely secure. With this foundation of vocal stability and mutual trust firmly in place, the group was able to leverage one of its most explosive creative pairings, a combination of two distinct musical minds whose chemistry would write the very sound that put Stray Kids on the global map. Number 1, Bangchan and Han, a chemistry hard to match. Within the creative structure of Stray Kids, the concept of the all-rounder is frequently used to describe Han Ji-sung. Born in 2000, Han entered JYP Entertainment with a rare combination of high-level skills. He was a technically precise, rapid-fire rapper, a vocalist capable of hitting challenging high registers, and a prolific songwriter. Along with Bangchan and Changbin, he formed the third pillar of the producing Unit 3 Racha. But while the partnership between Bangchan and Changbin is characterized by structured, steady labor, the relationship between Bangchan and Han is defined by a rapid, almost instinctual creative chemistry, a shorthand that has allowed them to generate some of the group's most significant musical work under extreme time constraints. To understand how this chemistry functions, one must look back at their pre-debut collaboration. During their trainee days, before the company had finalized any plans for the group's debut, Bangchan, Changbin, and Han were already working as an independent unit. They spent their nights in the agency's basement studios, producing and uploading tracks to SoundCloud under their 3 Racha aliases. In this self-directed environment, Bangchan and Han developed a collaborative rhythm that bypassed the need for formal creative briefs. Han could write lyrics at a speed that surprised senior staff, while Bangchan could build production arrangements around those lyrics in real time. JYP Entertainment's internal production team has frequently commented on the efficiency of this partnership. In K-pop, the process of writing, arranging, and approving a song typically involves multiple layers of corporate review, external writers, and revisions. For Stray Kids, however, Bangchan and Han can often bypass the initial stages of this process entirely. They operate on a level of mutual understanding where one can propose a musical theme or a melodic fragment, and the other will immediately understand how to develop it. A documented example of this rapid workflow is the creation of the track Sunshine, released on the group's 2019 EP CLE, Levanter. During a period of high professional stress, Han was experiencing symptoms of severe anxiety. Recognizing that Han needed a creative outlet to process the pressure, Bangchan set up a recording session and provided a calm, acoustic-leaning instrumental track. Han sat down and wrote the entire lyrical and melodic structure of the song in approximately 2 hours. Bangchan then completed the production, arranging the vocal parts to suit the members' ranges. The track was finalized and recorded with minimal revisions, serving as a testament to their ability to translate personal emotional states into cohesive musical assets. This creative speed is not an isolated incident. Throughout Stray Kids' discography, songs like 19, Another Day, and Chill demonstrate a similar collaborative origin. Han will typically generate the core melodic concept and raw lyricism, while Bangchan refines the structure, handles the technical mixing, and integrates the performance elements. This division of labor works because there is no competitive friction between their roles. Han respects Bangchan's technical authority as a producer, and Bangchan respects Han's raw creative instincts as a writer. However, the connection between Bangchan and Han extends beyond the studio walls. It is equally visible in how they manage the physical and psychological demands of public life. In December 2019, JYP Entertainment released an official statement regarding Han's health, disclosing that he was experiencing symptoms of social anxiety. The agency explained that while Han was committed to performing, he experienced severe nervousness when surrounded by large crowds in close proximity, such as at airports or public promotional events. The company announced that his schedule would be adjusted to allow him to receive treatment and rest when necessary. During this period, Bangchan's leadership style manifested in highly visible, practical support. In public appearances where Han was present, Bangchan could be seen keeping close physical proximity to him, often guiding him through chaotic airport crowds, holding his hand to provide physical grounding, or checking on his breathing patterns mid-performance. During live concerts, if Han showed signs of discomfort, Bangchan would adjust the group's positioning or take over speaking duties to allow Han the space to recover without drawing negative attention from the audience or media. This protective behavior was not performative. It was the natural response of a leader who had worked alongside Han since their trainee days and understood the specific triggers of his condition. By managing Han's anxiety with patience and clear boundary setting, Bangchan helped prevent the kind of burnout or prolonged hiatuses that often disrupt K-pop groups during critical promotional windows. Han was able to continue contributing to the group's music and performances, knowing that his safety and comfort were prioritized by the person running the team. On stage, this trust translates into an explosive performance dynamic. Both Bangchan and Han are high-energy performers who excel at crowd interaction. During live sets, they frequently coordinate their movements, hyping each other up during transition sections and sharing vocal duties on tracks that require rapid shifts between rap and melodic delivery. Han's ability to hit the challenging vocal high notes in songs like Elevator while maintaining his position as a main rapper provides Bangchan with a highly versatile performance asset that can be deployed across different parts of the stage. JYP has publicly remarked on the significance of this relationship, noting that the creative and performance chemistry between Bangchan and Han is one of the primary reasons Stray Kids has managed to keep their musical style fresh and unpredictable. They are not merely executing choreography and singing lines written by others, they are presenting a cohesive, self-directed artistic identity that they have been refining together for years. The alliance between the group's leader and its most versatile creative engine remains one of the most critical factors in Stray Kids' continued success. It is a relationship built on shared history, mutual creative respect, and a deep understanding of each other's professional and personal boundaries, a combination that has proven exceptionally difficult for the industry to replicate. Having examined these individual dynamics, it becomes possible to understand how these 7 distinct relationships combine to form the operational foundation of the entire group.